Hello, everyone. Welcome to another week of the Geoguessr Reddit League show here on YouTube. I'm joined as always by Calamity. How are you?
Hello, I'm doing good.
Doing great. And our guest today is Division Three's own Wolftrekker. How are you, my friend?
Hey there, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Glad to have you here. So we've got a little bit of a shorter episode for you this week, probably because Division One is on a bye week. They'll be returning after this following week with their playoffs and relegation battle. So we just have Division 2 and 3, as well as the semifinals for Division 4 for you today. So let's get started with that and look at the results from Division 2. Calamity, probably the biggest thing here, Ice Tharu, perfect game from him.
Yeah, perfect score is very impressive in Puerto Rico because the map is generally quite hard to pinpoint because there's a lot of long straights and just generally not very roads that go, or not very many rounds at junctions that start there at least. So 25k in Puerto Rico is very impressive, but I've also seen him practice like a million times what it feels like. So
Yeah.
he probably expected at least very close to it. Radu has sort of gotten into the groove of doing as little as necessary for getting 3 points every week, just about edging out Benica there. And a small little fun fact, Mr. Blue's third draw of the season, but it's the first time where he had more points than his opponent.
He's been on maybe a little bit of the lucky side for those, but this time the unlucky side. Yeah. Wolftrekker, anything interesting stand out to you here in week 10?
Yeah, I just want to say I'm particularly impressed with Blockchain Prenup's score. He had a very tough opponent with Mr. Blue, who's had a very strong showing throughout the season. So, yeah, I'm very impressed by his score, and he'll be happy to pick up 2 points.
Indeed. Yeah, very strong performance here for Division 2 overall, as we should expect. So let's take a look at what that means for the table in Division 2. The top half stays pretty much the same. Not a whole lot of movement at all. A little bit of shuffling around the bottom. But yeah, definitely anybody's game going into the final week, Calamity.
It depends on anybody's game for what, but Mr. Blue
Oh,
is...
sorry, the top half of the table at least.
Yeah, Mr. Blue's almost guaranteed his promotion at this point. It'd take a massive choke on his part, as well as a perfect score for Giovanni to overturn that. But it's not like anyone in the top four can rest easy, really. All of them will want to finish off their season with a win to ensure that there will be no last-second surprises. Ice Pharaoh in P5 is still in the race as well to maybe at least overtake Tall Impala should he slip up, because he's got the better score differential compared to his opponents as well. He's also practiced Malaysia like a billion times already. So again, you can probably expect him to win his game against, I think it's Slovak goalie. On the other side of the table, we've got Seppo, who secured his place in Division 2 with his win this week, and Blockchain Prenup doing almost the same. He still could theoretically drop down, but it's unlikely at this point. So yeah, as Wolftrekker said before, those 2 points against Mr. Blue, very important for him. And Radox, Skarmory and Benica have a crucial last week ahead of them to decide who of the three will go down to Division 3 immediately, while the other two get one last match to decide the other one next week. And out of those, Radox has the advantage of a point more than the other two, but he's also got the worst score differential.
Yeah, that score differential could certainly come back and bite him in the butt if it comes down to that. Wolftrekker.
Yeah, it's going to be a very crucial battle between the 9 to 11 with Radox, Yellow, and Benica, and I think a win could be absolutely crucial for them to avoid a direct relegation because they're all playing against pretty strong opponents, I'd say. And if one of them could get a victory out, then they could be in a very strong position to keep their place in this division.
Indeed. Well, let's look exactly who they'll all be facing off in the final regular season week of Division 2. So there's a lot on the line. So as Calamity Corny mentioned, Mr. Blue having a little bit of an easy last week with a Seppo. But besides that match, what are you looking forward to here, Calamity?
Yeah, out of the three we've mentioned before in the relegation battle, Benica probably has the easiest matchup going against Blockchain Prenup. I say easiest as we've seen last week. It's not necessarily easy, regardless of that. But yeah, Radox with Tall Impala and Skarmory with Radu, not quite that easy. Yeah, Giovanni and Mr. Blue are both playing against people who've got nothing to gain or lose on the last match, with Sebo and Teskotak, who are safely secured in 6th and 7th. It's hard to say which is preferable, if you'd rather have an opponent who's a bit better, but who's got nothing really to play for, or someone who's a bit worse, but still needs a win on the last day. I always called this segment in my notes predictions as well, and I've noticed I hardly ever make any. So here we go. The most important match for me this week is Tall Impala versus Radox. I think all the other results are sort of shoo-ins, and whether any of them have a consequence on the table depends entirely on whether there'll be points despite losing. But yeah, if Radox can get a win against Tall Impala, that'll be bad for Tall Impala as well, because it'll probably drop him out of the top 4. And I know that both of them don't really have a lot of time to practice this week, so it might be interesting. Might be a bit of an interesting one how that goes. But my bold prediction is that nothing changes in the top 9, and Benica overtakes Skarmory on score differential.
See, yeah, Tall Impala definitely known for putting in the practice, but if he can't this week, certainly opens a door for Radox indeed. A Wolftrekker, anything here for you?
Yeah, pretty much just to mirror what Calamity said. I don't expect there to be too many changes in the table. And yeah, I think Radox and Tall Impala is probably the most crucial match. And yeah, Radox will be hoping to get a good score on this one to avoid relegation.
Very nice. Yeah, so it looks to be a very interesting final week for Division 2 in Malaysia. Okay, well, then let's move on to Division 3 and their results in Puerto Rico in Week 10. Pork Steaks, of course, had his bye week this week, so nothing from him. But besides that, yeah, MD Spaceman almost pulling out the upset, gets so close, but has to settle for a draw there, Wolftrekker.
Yeah, so I had a game with Guelo Wizard, and yeah, it didn't go as well as expected, but Guelo Wizard is a great player, and yeah, I'm very impressed, and I'll be practicing very hard to secure a win in Malaysia. I'm particularly impressed by Hugo Vara. I think he'll be very happy to win his game against Calamity, and that'll help him to secure a position in the promotion playoffs for Division 2.
Yeah, I believe that win does give him quite a boost, Calamity. Any thoughts from you here on Division 3 and on your unfortunate loss?
Yeah, what a wild week. I've lost and I'm somehow still in 3rd. So at least I've got that going for me. Yeah, it was pretty much just a dumb mistake by me, getting a bit lucky as well and then panicking. Hugo Vara told me he had something similar in a different round, but he ended up just a bit closer and got the win there. Yeah, Wakelock, quite a drastic victory over Freckles, which is bad for Freckles because that's his last game of the season. And yeah, as you've said, MD Spaceman versus Fios. Even funnier there, it's only a 2-point difference, and because of those 2 points, MD Spaceman gets 2 points because he finished 5th in this seed, and Fios gets 1 point because he finished 6th. So yeah, that's even worse for Fios.
Very interesting.
But yeah, that's pretty much it. Great wins for MD Spaceman, Guelo Wizard securing their promotion.
Indeed. Yeah, so let's take a look at the table. As Calamity pointed out, Guelo Wizard and MD Spaceman have a clear advantage going into the final week. They are more than 3 points away from the rest of the field, so pretty unlikely either one of them will lose their top spot. So that means it's pretty much a 4-way race for the 3rd and 4th places, that promotion playoff contention between Calamity, Hugo Vara, Wolftrekker, and Theos. The bottom of the table, though, pretty much separated. There'll be a little bit of a fight between 7th, 8th, and 9th to see if they can get out. of that relegation playoff, but pretty much Porkstakes and MD Spacemen have been resigned to their fates unless a miracle happens in week 11. Yeah, so Wolftrekker, how do you fancy your chances here heading into the final week?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I just have to hope for a win against Vakolok and then hope that the rest of the matches are in my favour, in that either Hugo or Calamity loses their game, so that I have a chance to secure that playoff position. But yeah, it could go anyway, really. I could win my game, and if Hugo and Calamity both have strong games, then I could be out of the playoff. So yeah, it could go either way, really. I think it's going to be a lot harder for Theosa with his very low score differential. He'll have to hope that at least two of the third to fifth position have a weak performance for him to have a chance of qualifying.
Indeed. Yeah, Calamity, you're sitting third, but only by a single point. And after that, maybe a little bit of score differential advantage, but not much. How do you see yourself finishing this season?
Yeah, it'll be interesting, as Wolftrekker says. There's a nice German word called Fernduell, which doesn't really translate well to English from what I've looked up before, but it literally means distance duel, basically describing a number of competitors fighting in the standings without going up against each other. It probably originates from having to look into the metaphorical distance at the results of your opponents to know whether your result is good enough or not. And as no one from third to sixth plays each other, that's exactly what we'll have to do. Yeah, we've got the same situation as in Division 2, though. I'm playing against Guelo Wizard, who's got nothing to gain or lose, but is first in the standings, while the rest play people below them in the standings who still have to fight for their participation in Division 3 next season. Porkstakes is the one who's least likely to be able to change their current position due to him needing a perfect score or a 34,000 points swing in score differential, which is even more unlikely. And Freckles is virtually guaranteed in a relegation playoff because, as I've said before, he's finished his season and he'd need an equally unlikely drop of 17,000 in redirect score differential, with Wakelock also not picking up any points. So yeah, that's it's still all to play for, but there's probably not going to be too many changes at the bottom there.
Yeah, it's probably the caster's nightmare, right? Mathematically, a lot is possible, but very little seems actually probable. So we'll hope that nothing too crazy goes on and we don't look like fools come next week. But let's take a look at those matchups a little bit more closely for Division 3 next week in Malaysia. Damn the Freckles does have his bye week in the last week, as they both have mentioned. So not much to go there, but definitely... probably the tough match for you there, Calamity. But Wolftrekker, your match against I can never get his name right. Wakelock. I always think Wa, and that messes me up. Wakelock. My Japanese phonics is messing with my brain. Wakelock, probably a very good challenge for you, and a British derby there as well.
Indeed, yeah. I'm definitely going to practice quite a lot for this one because I've seen he's pulled out some strong performances. Hopefully I can get a win, but we'll see. We'll see. I want to mention that I think there's 3 key matches here that are very important. That's me against Vakolok, Calamity against Guelo Wizard, and Hugo Alvaro against Redirect, because they're the only 3 matches that have people fighting for either promotion or relegation. So they're definitely the key matches to look out for, in my opinion.
Indeed. And we know from this division, pretty much anybody can pull out a win almost any time, or at least put up very decent scores that could make it very close and competitive. Anything from you here, Calamity?
Yeah, MD Basement versus MD Spaceman is actually already over, and I feel like I might as well tell you the results since neither of them had anything to play for. Having already been promoted in the case of MD Basement and relegated in the case of MD Spaceman. And it ended up as a draw. But more on that next week. And yeah, as I've said before, it's the other 4 matches whose outcome is crucial. And honestly, I wouldn't be entirely surprised if everyone from 3rd to 6th managed to win, but at the same time, I wouldn't be shocked if everyone lost either. That's just how close and unpredictable these matchups are. And I haven't really seen, because as I've said before, I occasionally look at the map pages, and I haven't really seen anyone practice a lot yet from this division. I've seen Theos play one game just before we started recording, but that's pretty much it. And I've already played my game, and I don't feel bad about my score, but it's also not something that I think is unbeatable, especially not by the current number 1.
Yeah, definitely. A tough matchup for you there with Geoguessr. He can pretty much put up a good score any week, as he's been consistently towards the top of the table. So not too much easier for you. Yeah, we might be able to get 1 or 2 of these matches cast for you, so you can see exactly how this goes down. But yeah, so keep looking for those to come. Nice. Well, then let's move on to the last little bit of our episode this week, which is the Division 4 semifinal playoffs in Puerto Rico, of course. And probably what we expected, a very, very close match from Max, FI, and Deep Thought. And Malbo's definitely showing his stuff against Nitnarok, Calamity.
My first failed prediction. It all came down to 1 round. Pretty much everyone, I think Nitnarok slightly messed up 1 other round as well. But other than that, pretty much everyone else got 4 almost perfect scores in the other 4 rounds. And it was just 1 round that was on that road in the middle of the country. And only Mabos found the right location. Deep Thought got the right latitude, and Max got the right longitude, funnily enough. But Max ended up, I think it was about 7 to 10 kilometers or so closer. That got him the edge in the end. And yeah.
Yeah. Nitnarok again showing his his highest scores towards the end of the season and into the playoffs, but not quite enough to overcome a very confident Mabos here. Wolftrekker, any thoughts from you on this semifinals?
Yeah, I think Marbos and Nitnarok, the score there was to be expected. Max and Deep Thought, it's very interesting to see that Max won the game because they're both very strong in their divisions. So yeah, it's interesting to see that Max won it. So yeah.
Yeah, very nice. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, Max and Deep Thought were both a second in their tables. I know Max was because he was in my division 4A and he was second. But I don't remember if Deep Thought was or not.
He was either second or third. Give me 1 second. He was third.
Okay. I knew. Yeah. Okay. I thought it might have been a matchup against second places in the tables, but not quite. Yeah. Yeah, but again, 3 of the 4 semifinal competitors from Division 4A, and no surprise there that as we look at the finals that will take place in Malaysia, it is 2 players from 4A, Max FI versus Mabos here. I'll put you guys on the spot, Calamity, Wolftrekker. Who's going to take home this last promotion spot from Division 4?
I'm gonna say... unless he gets any technical difficulties, because he's had some in the past, it's gonna be Max. Mainly because I think Mabos have mostly excelled on smaller maps and maps where you don't have a lot of like not any big countries like Brazil we've got in the past, or countries with little information like Lesotho or Kyrgyzstan. So I think Max is slightly favored, but it could go either way, I mean.
Yeah, Wolftrekker, any predictions here?
Yeah, I agree. I think I slightly favor Max, but I think it could go.
Yeah, I think Schmingo did mention on the Reddit page that Max did win this head-to-head matchup, but by about 3,000 points. So a pretty confident win. But certainly, with the finals, everything to play for, Mabos will not be willing to just roll over quietly. So we should definitely be looking forward to that result next week. But yeah, as Calamity already sort of mentioned, Malaysia, not just for these Division 4 finals, but for Division 2 and 3, their final week of the regular season is quite an interesting country to be playing in. So let's take a little bit of a look at that map. The map we'll be playing is Mapper's version of Malaysia. There is an official map, but we're using Mapper's. The average score is 14,949 points. It has been played just over 1,000 times. As always, it should go up quite a bit with the Reddit League playing it. Over 1,000 locations to check out. Yeah, the description kind of says it right there. One peninsula, multiple islands, and good luck. Isn't that right, Wolftrekker?
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, Malaysia's going to be an interesting one indeed. I would say out of all the countries, Malaysia's one of the more average countries in terms of difficulty. Like it's not a huge country, but it's not tiny either. So you're going to want to get pretty close in the region, but it's not going to be as pinpoint heavy as say Puerto Rico or Lesotho. And it's generally a very well signed country, but you can also have very rural roads with very little clues. So yeah, it's going to be an interesting one indeed.
Yeah, Calamity.
Yeah, I completely agree with Wolftrekker there in that it is a relatively average map in terms of difficulty. Lots of signage as well. But the question is if you know the things that are signed on the signs. I think most crucial here is knowing as many cities in Malaysia as you can before you go into your actual match, because there's a lot of them, and a lot of them also sound quite similar. But yeah, the road system is very confusing occasionally. There's a lot of different types of roads. You've got just numbered roads, then you've got roads with letters as well. And then you've got basically highways that start with an E that go throughout the whole country. So yeah, hoping to find your location just based on road numbers it's going to be an interesting one. Might be tough, but yeah, I think generally it's a good map for a final as well, for Division 4, because it sort of combines all the different types of skills you need in Geoguessr.
Yeah, one thing can I just add? There is a regional area code system for Malaysia, and I'm not sure how much that's going to help. I think it might be a bit like Pennsylvania, where there's kind of 7 or 8 regions. So it'll be interesting to see if that area code system is worth learning.
Do you mean the telephone numbers? Telephone
number code.
I've looked at them, and they're not hard to learn, but I've also not really seen much telephone numbers around. I wasn't particularly looking for them either, but I can say I haven't used them in my practice or actual games. But yeah, it's probably something you should be aware of, and it might help you out.
Yeah. Phone numbers are one of those things where if you've got nothing else, they're lifesavers, right? If all you can find is a phone number on some store in the middle of nowhere, it's amazing. But if you're in a large city where you'd see lots of them anyways, it's probably not the thing that's going to win it for you in that round. But as always, definitely worth trying if you've got the time to learn those. A good tip there from Wolftrekker. Well, that will wrap it up for us this week, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. Yeah, very exciting week here. And the next week's show, we'll be looking forward to not only crowning the promotion playoff champion from Division 4, but also getting into the real nitty-gritty of those playoffs for all 3 divisions, Division 1, 2, and 3. So there'll be lots of predictions and looking at stats and how the players did throughout the season. So it's definitely an episode you don't want to miss. So we'll see you all then. Thank you all for watching. Take care.
Bye.